First contact fiasco. Lieutenant Kira Patel never expected her cat to cause an interstellar incident. Then again, she never expected to become humanity's first feline relations officer either. But here she was, standing in the gleaming hallway of Orbital Station Alpha, trying to explain to Admiral Harrison why her cat Nebula had just sent 3 Voraxian diplomats into crystalline shock. "Let me get this straight, Lieutenant." Admiral Harrison pinched the bridge of his nose, his dark skin reflecting the soft blue emergency lights that were still pulsing from the earlier chaos. "You brought your cat to a first contact meeting." "With all due respect, sir," Kira straightened her uniform. "Nebula is a therapy animal. It's within regulations." What neither of them had anticipated was how the Voraxians, a crystalline species that communicated through light patterns and vibrations, would react to a small furry predator casually strolling into the conference room and launching itself onto the highest available surface, which, unfortunately, happened to be Ambassador Tkrix's crystalline head. The security footage, which was now being analyzed by both human and alien scientists, showed the exact moment everything went wrong. Tkrix's translucent form had shifted from a diplomatic azure to a panic-stricken magenta as Nebula made herself comfortable. The ambassador's 2 junior diplomats had immediately begun resonating at a frequency that shattered every glass surface in the room. "They're calling us the Predator Tamers now," Harrison said, scrolling through his tablet. "The entire Galactic Council is in an uproar. Half of them are terrified. The other half are fascinated. And somehow we've become the most interesting species in the sector." Kira tried not to smile. She failed. "To be fair, sir, Nebula was just following standard cat protocol. If it's high up and looks important, sit on it." The Admiral's stern expression cracked slightly. "Lieutenant, this is serious. The Voraxians are demanding an explanation for why humans casually cohabitate with—" He checked his tablet again. "Murder-capable entities with retractable death implements." "You mean Murder Mittens?" Kira couldn't help herself. "Sir, this could be an opportunity. The Voraxians clearly need to understand humanity better, and what better way than through our relationships with our pets? Are you suggesting we turn this diplomatic disaster into a cultural exchange program?" "Exactly." Kira's dark eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "Think about it. We've achieved something none of the other spacefaring races have. We've not only domesticated predators, we've turned them into companions. That's got to count for something." Before Harrison could respond, his tablet chimed. His eyebrows shot up as he read the message. "Well, this is unexpected. The Voraxian High Council wants to establish a permanent commission to study human-pet relationships. They're calling it the Initiative for Understanding Terrestrial Predator Integration. That's actually pretty impressive bureaucracy for something that happened 2 hours ago. They work fast when they're terrified." Harrison deadpanned. "And congratulations, Lieutenant. You've just been appointed as Earth's first official feline relations officer." Kira blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "The Voraxians specifically requested you. Apparently, Ambassador Tkrix was quite impressed by how you handled the situation. Something about your masterful control over the murder entity. I just gave Nebula her favorite treats and scratched behind her ears. Which, to them, looked like you using advanced psychological techniques to pacify a dangerous predator." Harrison actually smiled now. "Sometimes the best diplomacy happens by accident, Lieutenant." At that moment, Nebula sauntered around the corner, tail held high like a victory flag. The cat's black fur seemed to absorb the emergency lights, making her look like a moving piece of the void. She made a beeline for Kira, rubbing against her legs and leaving black fur on her pristine uniform. "Report to Conference Room 3 at 800 tomorrow," Harrison said, watching the cat with a mixture of amusement and resignation. "The Voraxians want to begin their study immediately. And Lieutenant—" "Yes, sir. Try to explain to them that not all cats are trained military assets. The last thing we need is for the Galactic Council to think Earth has a secret army of highly trained feline operatives. Kira looked down at Nebula, who had now flopped onto her back in the middle of the hallway, paws in the air, demanding belly rubs. Of course, sir. Though technically, they're all highly trained, just not by us. As she walked back to her quarters, Nebula trotting regally beside her, Kira couldn't help but wonder what other misunderstandings awaited in her new role. One thing was certain. Humanity's introduction to the galactic community was going to be a lot more interesting than anyone had anticipated. And somewhere in the station's diplomatic quarter, 3 crystalline beings were trying to explain to their superiors how a small furry creature had simultaneously terrified and enchanted them. The future of interstellar relations now apparently hinged on understanding why humans thought it was perfectly normal to share their homes with tiny predators. Nebula, for her part, seemed quite pleased with herself. After all, she'd just helped establish humanity's unique position in the galaxy, all because she couldn't resist sitting on something that looked important: the purring protocol. In the 3 weeks since the first contact feline incident, Orbital Station Alpha had undergone some interesting renovations. The formerly sterile diplomatic wing now featured climbing posts at various heights, strategically placed scratching stations, and what could only be described as the most sophisticated cat tree in human history, designed by Varaxian engineers who had apparently taken their research assignment very seriously. Lieutenant Kira Patel stood before the Interspecies Relations Committee, trying not to laugh as she watched Nebula testing the structural integrity of the new installations. The cat had developed a particular fondness for the crystalline-based scratching posts, which emitted soft harmonic frequencies when used. As you can see, Kira gestured to the holoprojector displaying Earth's latest diplomatic initiative. Project Purr has shown remarkable success in reducing anxiety levels among non-terrestrial species during initial contact scenarios. Ambassador Tukrix, who had recovered admirably from their first encounter with Nebula, chimed in with a harmonious resonance that their translator rendered as agreement. The vibration therapy, as you call it, has proven most effective. Though I must admit, we still cannot determine if the cats are utilizing some form of psychic influence. I assure you, Ambassador, it's just standard cat behavior, Kira explained for what felt like the 100th time. They purr when they're content, and the frequency just happens to have a calming effect on most species. The Varaxian delegation's colors shifted through various shades of contemplation. In the past weeks, they had developed an almost obsessive interest in understanding how humans had achieved what they called apex predator synthesis, the ability to form emotional bonds with natural hunters. But surely, another delegate chimed in, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of curiosity. There must be some form of control mechanism. Our research indicates that these cats could easily terminate their human companions during sleep cycles. That's technically true, Kira admitted, but they don't want to. Most of the time. The entire Varaxian delegation vibrated in alarm. Most of the time. Tkrix's translator crackled. It's a joke, Ambassador. Earth humor. Kira quickly moved to the next slide. Let's focus on the success of the purring protocol in our recent negotiations with the Centaurian Trade Federation. The holovid showed footage from last week's trade summit, where the introduction of carefully selected therapy cats had transformed a tense negotiation into what essentially became an interstellar petting zoo. The Centaurians, being empaths, had been particularly susceptible to the cat's natural charm. We've documented a 73% increase in successful first contact scenarios when implementing the purring protocol, Kira continued. Though we did have to make some adjustments after the incident with the Phalanx delegation. Ah yes. Tukrix resonated thoughtfully. The species that resembles your Earth cats, but at 15 times the scale. Most unfortunate that they felt. What was the term? Patronized, Kira supplied. It turns out showing cat videos to a species of giant intelligent felines wasn't our best diplomatic move, though they did appreciate the laser pointer technology we shared as a peace offering. Just then, The station's alert system activated, bathing the room in soft amber light. Lieutenant Puddle to Medical Bay 3, the AI announced. Code whiskers in progress. Kira suppressed a sigh. If you'll excuse me, Ambassador, it seems we have another situation requiring feline intervention. Dr. Rodriguez has been using cat therapy to help treat species suffering from space adaptation syndrome. And sometimes things get a bit interesting. As she hurried to the medical bay, Nebula trotting importantly beside her, Kira reflected on how quickly the purring protocol had evolved from a diplomatic accident into an essential part of human-alien relations. They'd even had to establish a special division of the Space Force dedicated to training therapy cats for interstellar service. The scene in Medical Bay 3 was exactly what she'd expected. 3 Arcturian delegates, their normally imposing tentacled forms wrapped around themselves in anxiety, while Dr. Rodriguez's massive Maine Coon, Galaxy, performed what the staff had dubbed therapeutic kneading on the closest available surface. They were experiencing severe gravitational adjustment issues, Dr. Rodriguez explained as Kira entered. Galaxy decided to intervene. The massive cat was indeed making biscuits on what appeared to be a very expensive piece of Arcturian ceremonial clothing, while purring at a frequency that made the medical equipment vibrate. Surprisingly, the Arcturian's color had shifted from distressed purple to a much calmer blue. The vibrations, one of them warbled through their translator. They resonate with our central nervous system in a most pleasing manner. Is this some form of advanced Earth medicine? You could say that, Kira replied diplomatically. We've been developing it for quite a few thousand years. As she helped Dr. Rodriguez document another successful intervention, Kira couldn't help but marvel at how the universe seemed to work sometimes. Humanity had spent centuries wondering what their first contact with alien life would be like, developing complex protocols and procedures, only to have their cats completely rewrite the diplomatic playbook. The purring protocol was now being studied by xenobiologists across known space. There were serious academic papers being written about the psychological impact of Murder Mittens on interspecies relations, and somewhere in the Varaxian home system, there was apparently an entire research institute dedicated to understanding why humans thought it was perfectly reasonable to share their living spaces with creatures that regularly knock things off high surfaces while maintaining direct eye contact. Lieutenant, Dr. Rodriguez called her attention back to the present. The Arcturians are requesting permanent cat therapy stations on all their diplomatic vessels. Kira watched as Galaxy, having finished their kneading session, settled into a perfect loaf position atop the now thoroughly massaged Arcturian garment. The alien delegates were recording every movement with their sensory appendages, probably for further scientific study. Add it to the list, she said. But maybe we should wait to tell them about dogs until they've fully processed the cat situation. The universe, it seemed, wasn't quite ready for the concept of humans domesticating pack hunters, one earth-shattering revelation at a time. Operation Whiskers. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council wasn't going well. On the massive holoscreen dominating the chamber, Earth's most popular cat videos played on endless loop while representatives from 17 different species argued about their implications. It's clearly mind control technology. The Rigelian delegates' tentacles waved in agitation. Look at how the humans submit to these creatures' demands. The way they provide sustenance and shelter at the mere sound of a meow. Lieutenant Kira Patel watched from her newly appointed seat in the diplomatic section, Nebula curled regally in her lap. Next to her, Ambassador Tikrix's crystalline form flickered with what she'd learned to recognize as barely suppressed amusement. The Rigelian collective raises an interesting point. A floating cloud of conscious gas that represented the nebulons chimed in. We have documented thousands of instances where humans interrupt important activities to serve their feline overlords. How do we know Earth isn't already under their control? That's not how it, Kira began, but was interrupted by the Arcturian speaker. Perhaps more concerning is their ability to multiply this control. The speaker's tentacles wrapped nervously around their ceremonial staff. Our research shows that exposure to these cat videos creates an immediate dopamine response in most species. Is this not proof of some form of psychic warfare? Kira exchanged a glance with Ticrix. The Varaxians, having spent the most time studying Earth's feline companions, had developed a surprisingly accurate understanding of the situation. Unfortunately, their attempts to explain it had only fueled the conspiracy theories. Esteemed delegates, Kira stood, Nebula adjusting herself to perch on her shoulder like a furry epaulette. I believe we're overlooking a simple explanation. They're preparing to expand their influence. A Proximan representative cut in. Our surveillance shows increasing numbers of humans capturing and sharing these cat videos. It's clearly a coordinated campaign of psychological manipulation. That's when Nebula decided to demonstrate exactly how much control she had over the situation, by jumping from Kira's shoulder onto the central holoprojector, causing the current video, a kitten falling off a table, to dissolve into static. The chamber fell silent as the cat began to groom herself, completely unconcerned with the gathered representatives of galactic civilization. As I was saying, Kira continued, fighting to keep her face serious, the relationship between humans and cats is one of mutual choice. We don't control them, and they don't control us. We simply coexist. Impossible. Several delegates shouted at once. Watch, Kira said, pulling out a small laser pointer. The next few minutes served as a perfect demonstration of exactly who was, and wasn't, in control as Nebula ignored the red dot completely while every crystalline delegate tracked it with fascinated intensity. The Galactic Cat Convention. The inaugural Galactic Feline Understanding Symposium, GFUS, transformed New York's Javits Center into what could only be described as the universe's most sophisticated cat cafe. Delegates from across known space mingled with Earth's finest felines, while human experts attempted to explain concepts like toe beans and airplane ears to increasingly bewildered alien scientists. Kira, now officially the head of interspecies feline relations, stood at the podium preparing to deliver her keynote address. Behind her, a massive screen displayed a live feed of the convention floor, where the Varaxian research team was documenting their latest breakthrough. The discovery that cats could indeed see the crystalline beings' color changes and were thoroughly unimpressed by them. Distinguished guests, she began, welcome to what I believe may be the most important scientific gathering in human history. Today, we bridge the gap between species through our shared appreciation of Earth's most enigmatic companions. In the audience, she could see Ambassador Ticrix attempting to explain to a group of Proximan scientists why their perfectly engineered cat toy was being completely ignored in favor of its packaging. Nearby, a Nebulon researcher was experiencing what appeared to be an existential crisis while watching a cat sleep in an impossibly small box. Our feline friends have taught us all an important lesson about the nature of intelligent life, Kira continued. Sometimes the most profound connections come not from complex diplomacy or advanced technology, but from the simple act of accepting each other's peculiarities. The ultimate revelation. The truth came out 6 months after the symposium. A leaked report from the Draconid Empire's military intelligence revealed that they had abandoned plans for invasion after reviewing Earth's pet ownership statistics. A species that casually shares its living space with natural predators, the report read, and has done so for thousands of years, cannot be approached with conventional military strategy. Any civilization that can earn the loyalty of such creatures while maintaining its technological advancement must possess capabilities beyond our current understanding. Kira sat in her office in the newly established Department of Interspecies Relations, reading the report while Nebula played with a quantum probability calculator that some poor Rigelian scientist had left unattended. The cat had somehow managed to entangle several quantum states just by batting at it. They're afraid of us, Ticrix observed, their crystalline form glowing with what Kira now recognized as ironic appreciation. Not because of your weapons or your technology, but because you've achieved something no other species even thought to attempt. We made friends with tiny murderers, Kira suggested. You saw beauty in the dangerous, Tkrix corrected. You looked at deadly predators and thought, yes, this would make an excellent napping companion. Do you have any idea how terrifying that is to species that evolved from prey animals? Kira watched as Nebula, having thoroughly violated several laws of quantum mechanics, settled down for a nap on her desk. So Earth's reputation as the galaxy's crazy cat lady is actually our best defense. Precisely. Who would dare attack a planet whose inhabitants regularly survive psychological warfare from small predators that knock things off high surfaces at 3 in the morning? As if on cue, Nebula stretched out a paw and deliberately pushed Tkrix's translator off the desk, maintaining direct eye contact the entire time. See, Tkrix's colors shifted to what Kira had learned was their equivalent of a grin. Terrifying. And so, Earth found its place in the galactic community not through military might or technological superiority, but through humanity's inexplicable ability to befriend deadly predators and turn them into internet celebrities. The galaxy might never understand humans' relationship with their cats, but they certainly learned to respect it. As for Nebula, she remained thoroughly unimpressed by the whole situation. After all, from a cat's perspective, this was exactly how things should be. The universe adjusting itself to accommodate their presence, one confused alien at a time.